Hi, my name is Teresa Meng, and I'm a current student at North Carolina State University's Institute for Advanced Analytics. I'm here today with Shalina Omar, who is a 2021 graduate of the Master of Science in Analytics program. Shalina now works as a managing consultant at Guidehouse.
Yeah, I'm Shalina Omar. I'm a managing consultant and data scientist at Guidehouse. I graduated from the Institute for Advanced Analytics in 2021, and before that, I also had a master's in sociolinguistics. So linguistics is kind of my background, but now I'm working mostly in health analytics at Guidehouse. So working with both commercial life sciences companies and public health institutions.
Great. Oh, great. Yeah. I know that you have a humanities background. What made you decide to get a master's in analytics?
Yeah, so coming from linguistics, my work was focused on sociolinguistics. So that's the intersection of sociology and language, kind of the scientific study of language. And a lot of my personal work was focused on areas of invisible bias. So language is sometimes referred to as kind of like the last frontier of discrimination and prejudice. It's something that we often don't think about. We have a lot of implicit bias when it comes to accents, especially here in North Carolina. I know a lot of people who are kind of native North Carolinians are familiar with either personally or they know of people who've tried to like suppress their home accent so that they can be seen in a certain way. So that was the focus of my research, those forms of invisible bias and how it can affect things as important as access to justice, like in the courts. And I actually kind of stumbled into data science. I kind of on a whim ended up at an info session for the Institute and had a bit of an epiphany. Um, I'd been feeling a lot of, I, I don't know what the word, maybe despair at all these algorithms that control our life that we're not even aware of. Uh, Everything from the type of customer service you'll get to whether you will be released on parole, like whether you get to like, keep your job. Um, there's a lot of just algorithms at play, automated decision systems with kind of high stakes results. And I was concerned that there aren't enough people who are thinking about the ethics and the forms of like invisible bias that goes into those algorithms. A lot of people think, well, if you just give it the data will give you the answer. But data is created by humans and humans are biased. So if you're taking historical data, you're likely going to be just perpetuating historical biases. And so during this info session, I was like, wait a second, I could be one of those people making those decisions. And so that's how I ended up here.
Great. Yeah. I love how you talked about bias and ethics in data science. That's something our classes currently touch on. Is that also something you're concerned with in your current work?
Yeah, it is. So obviously not every project is going to have like a huge bias component, right? Some of these projects that we're working on uh, kind of like don't have any aspect that would have like a large social impact. Um, but it's something that we are always thinking about kind of on the big picture. Something I'm working on with a team here at Guidehouse is developing an AI governance framework. And so what that means is developing a philosophy and system, like a process to go through to make sure that when we are implementing these automated decision systems, these AI models, we are going through like a we're going through a process of saying like, is it transparent? Is there a a clear line of accountability? Have we thought of the ways that this system could be used maliciously, or ways that it could cause social impact harmfully to minority groups, that kind of thing? And I think it's so important, even if, like, any given project might not have the, the issue of social bias. It's so important to build a culture of uh, thinking about inequality, thinking about bias, thinking about the impact that automated systems can have. It is also important to think about model bias in the more technical terms of kind of that split of false positives, false negatives. I think it's important we keep those terms separate, even though that they do often influence each other.
Great. Yeah. I was wondering, stepping back from kind of your work as more of like general advice to future students, is when you started at the Institute, did you think what you were doing now is what you originally planned to do?
Um, I did not. I think because of where I was coming from, just like mentally and emotionally coming into the Institute, I really had my eye set on like data for good. Um, kind of imagining working in the realm of data ethics or like for a nonprofit. And that's still on my horizon, but I realized as I was applying to jobs that like we are really early career data scientists. I've been here 2.5 years, and so when I was applying, I'd been there 0 years in the profession. And for a lot of the data for good opportunities, you have to be able to work on your own and be able to bring your data science expertise to the problem. Sometimes you do get to work on a team. Sometimes, a nonprofit is able to have an entire data science department, but usually not. Usually you're going to be the only one, or one of very few. And I know at the Institute, they're always talking about like your first 2 years at a job, you're really supposed to think of it as like a residency following the Institute. And I think that is a really great way to think about that, because just graduated from the Institute. I don't know if I really could have brought a lot of value on my own without having other data scientists to learn from, without having the lived experiences of handling lots of different problems. If I've learned anything from the last 2.5 years, is that there are so many different problems that fall within the data science analytics realm that you can't even possibly imagine them at the beginning of your career. So I've definitely shifted my timeline out, being like, okay, let me first get good at this. Let me become an expert in what I'm doing so that I can take that expertise and move towards my more long-term goals. But at the same time, I still get to do a lot of the stuff that is working towards those goals, like working on this AI governance framework and being able to like foster that type of culture within my own community.
Well, thank you so much for answering all these questions. It was a pleasure to hear from your experience.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure to share my thoughts. Thank you so much.